Buddy. Happy Wednesday. Thursday. I'm like a whole day behind. Crazy but true. Hope everybody has had a good week. Thursday, April 18th is today. My name is Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street coach, and I am doing these almost weekly in service to all of you hardworking traders. I love to coach, and I always hope that these conversations are going to assist you on the very hard work of being a trader. I believe that trading is really going to ask a lot of you emotionally, and it is going to ask a lot of you, uh, kind of physically and emotionally, never mind intellectually. Um, my focus for the past 18 years plus has been on finding tools that facilitate self awareness, facilitate consciousness, facilitate a sense of really being aware of how and why we tick the way we do. Uh, just a little bit of an introduction because I've realized that in all of these that I've been doing, I've not really talked much about where I come from, why I am the way I am, so to speak. So I thought today would be a good idea to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to try to have a little bit more of a format to these conversations just because I think there's so much that happens at once in them, that I myself just want to be able to be sure that I'm, addressing the very things that you guys speak about, wanting me to talk about. And of course, I always welcome you guys to put things in the chat box. First, out of the gate, I want to thank my sponsor, Centerpoint, for sponsoring these lives. I do have a specific link for you guys to use if you want to check Centerpoint out. So let me get that for you right now and put that in the chat box. I can't say enough about Centerpoint, and there are so many good things to say about them, but for what really, really impressed me is their customer service. It is next level, guys. So if you are really wanting to have a broker who's going to give you like VIP customer service, they are the brokerage firm for you. So that is the link that's special for us, and it will give you, I believe, 60 days of you being able to not have to, I want you guys, I'm trying to click the link myself now and remember what it said, but I'm pretty sure if I'm correct, this link is going to give you, let's see here, access, commission free for 60 days. Just wanted to make sure I was correct in my memory, but it looks like I am. Thank goodness. Okay, so good afternoon, PTO. Glad you're here, Tina. Happy everybody's here. So, okay, that to just kind of give you guys like just a little bit of a sense, right? These are in service to you. Why do I do them? Because a lot of times traders, don't really seem to have a place or a forum. I've been in a lot of Discord rooms where there is a lot of focus on the emotional intelligence side of trading. And that is something that I really specialize in. Why? Because I've needed to develop my own, guys. Like all the things that you guys are ever going to hear me speak to, these are actual things that I myself use and have learned over the years, helped me to heal. I've had a very unusual life. I've told you guys, I'm sure this before, I asked for my first therapist at 10 years old, right? So as a little 10-year-old girl, I was like, wow, I got to get me some tools. Now, that's probably not every 10-year-old's kind of thought process, but it was mine because of the environment that I was growing up in. It demanded tools. And if I wanted to navigate it successfully, I knew I had to get some. So, before, if you heard me hesitate a little bit about, I've been at this for a long time, and I said 18 years. Well, I've been a coach for 18 years, guys. I've been doing work on myself since I'm 10 years old. And I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am, but it's much more than 18 years. So what is that in service to? It's in service to these tools that I'm sharing with you, the thoughts and advice and things that I share that I feel could be of assistance to you are things that have helped me personally. So while I'm not a trader, I have been up against incredible volatility and incredible terrifying kind of situations, life and death situations. And because of that pressure and my ability to heal and transcend and navigate and or keep living with those traumas, keep living with the memories of those different events, I'm able to turn around and now hopefully share some of those tools that helped me with you, all in service to your own development, your own growth. All right, Cynthia, it's good to have you here. I'm so glad. So I'm going to just spend, these first few minutes, of course, just on kind of talking about a lesson, so to speak. I'm going to kind of always come in, as I try to all the time, to really just talk about one particular topic that I feel is really important. And because today was the third installation of the accelerated group coaching, I thought I would speak to some of what I do work on in that course. And then you can, take it further if you want in the next acceleration course. The next one will probably be approximately May 18th. I don't have the exact date yet, but it'll be probably a little bit after the first half, middle of May. It'll be a little bit later than the middle of May, basically a month from now, a little bit further out, about 5 weeks or so from now. So ultimately, one of the things that is a topic in that acceleration course that I think is very important for every trader is to take a really good look at what your relationship to money is. I'm curious, with the handful of people that we have here, have any of you guys done your assessment around money? I've recommended everybody go to take Olivia Mellon's test called Money Harmony. I don't think that website is up anymore. There's another website because she had gotten sick and couldn't maintain it. But there's another website that I've shared with you guys in the past. I'm actually just looking quickly here to see if I have it. I'll have to go and find that for you guys. But if you look up the Money Harmony assessment, it probably will come up. Let's see here. Yeah, so ultimately, that is a book as well. You can always buy the book. The test and assessment is inside her book. But what that book talks about, and a few other books about money, is that we each have a predisposed relationship to it. And if we aren't conscious of it, if we aren't aware of what that relationship to money is, it's going to be invisibly driving us. And regardless of the different things any of us journey through in our life, I'm of the opinion we are better off knowing exactly what's driving us, not guessing, because then we're potentially more fragile. We're more vulnerable, if you will, right? We're more at risk of having it drive the bus, not us. And the only way we can shift that belief system or that costly behavior is if we understand it in the first place. Is that similar, BTO asks, to our belief? Is that similar to our beliefs when it comes to money? BTO, just explain what you're asking me there a little bit more. I'm not sure I got what you're asking. One of the things about money is that a lot of times it is not even our specific chosen beliefs. A lot of times money is a collection of stories or beliefs or opinions that our parents had or our extended family had, or if we didn't spend much time at home, our friends and the kids we went to school with had. And you can find this if you begin to dig into the first experience you had with money. What was your first encounter? What was your first tactical sense that this thing called money makes a difference in your life? Like, some kids got allowance, some kids did not. Some kids had to earn, with a little, they had to get a job. They had to, either do a lemonade stand or have a paper, deliver papers in the neighborhood, or they just started working, babysitting, running, like whatever it was for you. I'm just kind of curious, when and how old? Anybody here wants to, speak up? How old were you when you first got that there was some density, if you will, some gravitas to this thing called money? I know for me, it was when I had my Fuji bike, customed everything, stolen 3 days after I got it. I think it was a very expensive bike at the time. At least it was for my old man who purchased it as a birthday gift for me. I picked out the tape, the color of the bike, like everything was custom. And 3 days later, it was stolen. And of course, I thought I was going to get that same bike replaced, and I didn't. I got piece of crap from Kmart that he had to put together, and it was yellow and it was ugly and terrible. It just didn't work right. So I want you guys to just tell me what and where your relationship to money started. All right, Cynthia says, BTO said, we need to save money because if we lose it, we need to work hard for it. Good for you, BTO. That is a kind of catchphrase I hear. Am I correct, BTO? Let me just make sure. You are saying that's a belief that you have about money. Is that right? Or a belief you were taught? Is that right? I'm just kind of curious. I think that's what you're saying. Cynthia says there was never enough of it growing up, regardless of how much we had. BTO says the same. Same here, Cynthia. Cynthia says, somehow my mother always bit off more than she could chew and would make bad financial decisions. BTO says, yep, me too. So thank you for sharing that, Cynthia. So this is a really, really insightful story, right? So, Cynthia, I'm going to ask you, with your permission, to think about what are some of the catchphrases that you heard your mom use when she spoke about money, right? I want everybody to think about this, like wherever your catchphrases come from, your beliefs, your incidents, I want you to think about what are the phrases that came with that belief, right? What were the phrases that were said all the time? This one I've heard a lot of times is, must be nice, right? Somebody gets a new sailboat or a new car, and some parents will be like, must be nice, and what does that have inside that statement, right? Besides jealousy, right? Like a little bit of resentment, a little bit of judgment, like a little bit of who do they think they are, right? So these are the invisible things that we hear that can stay with us. BTO says migrant farm worker families with lack of resources, so it was hard to earn it. Yep. So that too is something that's really worth looking at, guys, is that if you come or your parents came from a blue collar lifestyle, right? Farm workers is about as, maybe it's not literally called blue collar, but blue collar often, what does that mean? It means earning money with your body, right? The hard work, right? The back breaking work of, working on a farm. the backbreaking work of in construction, right? Or, miners. Like, all of these are jobs that are physical, right? Your strength of your body is going to get you your money. And today, especially for traders, it is going to be like knowledge that makes a trader make money, right? Ability to be intelligent, ability to stay emotionally neutral. These are very different qualities, very different kinds of strengths. And you've got to realize that if you have people who are coming from this other way of earning money, this could look like you're not even working hard, right? Like, to somebody with a different perspective, they could look at this and be like, how do you make money this way? This doesn't make any sense, right? So you got to remember that all of these beliefs, you want to unpack them and put them out on the dining room table, so to speak, so that you can see, are you potentially being held captive to any of them? Is that why maybe some of you stay at the desk way longer than you have to because you feel guilty, having it be quote unquote easy, right? Even though it's never easy, but in some ways it's not digging a ditch, right? So you guys want to just start to look at what these catchphrases have been in your life, what your parents' relationship to it was. Try to take the money harmony assessment. And then I also want to recommend a couple of other books around money, especially Jared Dillian. You guys know I had him on my podcast. If you haven't seen that episode, I want to strongly recommend you go to the YouTube page and watch the Jared Dillian conversation, because he talks at length about different dysfunctional relationships we have to money and how that can screw up traders and investors, never mind, regular people that aren't even trading, and even people who aren't necessarily investing. They're all having a dynamic with their money all the time. All right. Cindy says she would always hold her head saying, I'm breaking my head thinking about how and where to get the money to pay for upcoming bills, the mortgage, the electric, the phone. I hear you, Cynthia. Essentially always struggling. I hear you, Cynthia. So this is just a really, really important kind of awareness that I want you to have, Cynthia, because especially when we're children, watching a parent struggle, worry, break their head, holding their head, poring over their checkbooks, right? Back in the day when we had checkbooks. All of these things are going to, especially in a child, elicit worry, elicit fear. And I can't tell you guys how often I hear underlying a trader's challenges with success, with abundance, how much fear is underneath the hood. So I want everybody to start to see this about themselves so that you can do some work at unpacking and then healing. Your parents had their own relationship to money, and their parents did, but you don't have to just absorb theirs. You can redesign it. You can create what you want your relationship to money looks like. All right, so Cynthia says, I'm having a great week day trading, but I'm not celebrating at all. It feels like it's never enough, just like when I grew up. So Cynthia, that says so much. I'm so grateful to you for sharing that. That hesitation to celebrate the successes you've had in any form, right? Your willingness to celebrate what has been great, how you did stay true to your strategy, what you did see that you took action on, is because likely that past is a trauma that you have yet to heal from. And it is not going to serve you, Cynthia, if you don't work on healing that old story, right? That's an old story that it's never enough, right? That is a statement, not like even there's room for, like, sometimes it seems like there's not enough. Can you hear the difference? It's never enough versus sometimes it seems like it's never enough, right? These little subtle shifts are either re-triggering you or allowing you to step into the possibility of it sometimes being enough. And unless you can start to step into that as a perspective, think about it. How much harder will it be for you to potentially live that perspective, right? The perspectives we have, the things that we focus on, the stories we tell ourselves do influence what and how we see. There's a great quote. I don't know who said it. It's very old. It's very simple. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So ask yourselves, guys, if you are coming from a mindset of it's never enough, then you are going to always experience never enough. There are people who have millions of dollars, and they feel exactly like you do, Cynthia, that it's never enough because they haven't healed their wound with regards to money. And you got to think about that, guys, right now. Think about how wild that is, that there are people with millions of dollars who are constantly in a place of contraction, in a place of fear, because even as your bank account increases, if the internal relationship you have to money doesn't shift, it doesn't even matter what is in the bank account because you're going to still feel that feeling of not enoughness. And this is why it's so critical for you guys to get set free of it. And the first step is just noticing, right? Simply noticing. That is it. I'm sorry you blew the week BTO, and I'm sorry that you blew it just now too. That sucks. Loss is part of trading, guys. Getting comfortable with loss is critical to your success. I hear you that you're under PDT, even slightly, and it's annoying. I would agree. It's got to be annoying. And I'm sorry that's the case. And I want you to see how can you navigate where you are right now with as much neutrality as possible. And why is neutrality important? Because your ability to learn from whatever mistakes got made, PTO, that were in your control, wherever you made choices that didn't serve you, wherever your risk wasn't, you didn't take appropriate risk, wherever a trade that maybe you had been true to, a strategy rather that you had been true to, didn't come out the way you thought it would, if you want to learn, you're going to absolutely need to come from a place of curiosity as opposed to judgment. Because when we go into judgment, what happens, guys? We go into a contraction, right? Everything shrinks. We feel ashamed. We feel bad about ourselves. We hear like lots of inner dialogue that's very violent towards ourselves, right? All of that contraction is going to keep you from, first of all, breathing. Second of all, being able to fully appreciate and understand and learn from those mistakes. When you go into judgment, you are not going to be able to really methodically capture all the places that you could have treated better. It's possible sometimes your strategy is not the issue. I don't know how often that happens, but occasionally it's just a losing trade because just the gods of luck were not on your side. And that's why I reference that Peter Brand quote all the time, right? There's losing trades and bad trades. Know the difference. So BTO going underneath the PDT, I'm curious, was it because of bad trades or just losing trades? All right, Tina says, I'm thinking of switching back to a cash account to eliminate the pressure of staying above the PDT. Good job, you, Tina. If that's going to serve you, then I am so proud of you for thinking of that. This is self-awareness, guys. This is a place right now. What we're hearing Tina contemplate is what is going to serve me right now. Where am I finding myself bumping into something that possibly is sabotaging me? If I'm overly distracted with just, I have to stay above the PDT, then you're possibly not coming from neutrality, right? So all of that introspection, contemplation is excellent. I'm so proud of you for doing that. BTO says, yes, Tina, there's some sort of pressure to stay above it. Absolutely. Eric says, cash accounts help with that anxiety and pressure. Cynthia, that's what I've worked on lately, judgments, not being good enough. Good job, Cynthia. I'm so proud of you for doing that because all of those judgments are stories that possibly don't serve you. Look, we are, as Werner Erhard says, meaning-making machines, right? We're always creating meaning, guys, for everything that goes down. Things that happen, things that don't happen, the people we meet, the people we, wanted to meet that didn't show up. Like, we're just constantly creating meaning. Trades that you should have taken that you didn't take. Like, there's just constant meaning happening for all of us. This is just how we're built, human beings. And that's why Werner Erhard says we're meaning-making machines. But here is the rest of what he says is that, oh, hi, Anthony. I'm so glad you're here. I haven't had a chance to email you back yet. Anthony Nito, everybody is in the house. We're so lucky to have him. Of course, he is from Investors Underground and does some of the most excellent conversations on his podcast. He has you have one dropping tomorrow, Anthony. Is that correct? Please tell us if that's correct. I believe that's true. I'm looking forward to seeing that one very much so. So I'm glad you're here, Anthony. Thanks for stopping by. You are the best. You are the best human and the best interviewer out there. So I'm so glad you're here. All right. So the heart of this conversation is to start to look at those stories and ask yourself, isn't he awesome, Tina? I'm with you. Yes, BTO, those Sunday scans with Nate are good too. So good, so good. So just remember, so here's what Werner Erhard says about the fact that we're meaning-making machines. And I know you're going to laugh because it is kind of hilarious. But he says, look, guys, if we're meaning-making machines, then, and you have a story that makes you feel awful, that story and meaning is one that leaves you kind of feeling like garbage about yourself, change it. I know it sounds so simple, but he's like, if you're making up a story anyway, why don't you make one up that makes you feel good about yourself instead of constantly making up stories that I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I'm a terrible trader. It's all made up. Start to make up the good stories. I am going to be an excellent trader. I am giving it 100% of what I got. I am, moving slow now, but I'm going to start speeding up. Like, start to come up with some stories and catchphrases that make you feel better as opposed to worse because it's all made up, guys, right? All right. All right. Oh, you're welcome, Anthony. I appreciate you too. Good, Cindy. I'm glad that Anthony is somebody now that you get to know. You'll enjoy so much of his contribution to the Investors Underground. And let's just do a shout out to Investors Underground. Right now, Nate, Anthony, Josh, Sam, Turbo Sam. I'm, of course, in Turbo Sam's room every month, the last Wednesday of the month, doing speed coaching for some of the IU members. So if you guys haven't checked out Investors Underground, you should. What else? What else? All right. So any questions on this concept of, what are the stories you're telling yourself? Where are these relationships or influences or stories about money coming from? Starting to look into them is the name of the game. All right, so BTO says, I'm moving slow, but this is the first year in a couple of years of trading that I'm green. Congrats, BTO. That really matters. And I really hope that you will find a way to celebrate that, right? Because like you just spoke to the challenge that you were having, right? And what I really want you guys to start to see is where it's so much easier to go to what you're not doing. Hi, Jack. I'm so glad you're here. Good to have you here live and all. I'm glad you're here. So BTO, I'm so happy that you said this about being proud and that you're finally having the first year where you're in the green, right? That is you noticing, catching what you're doing well, right? It's so easy. All of us are guilty of this, to focus on what we don't do well, right? To focus on what's wrong with us, to focus on how much more we need to do. Like all that we could in a heartbeat tell everybody what's wrong with us, what we don't do enough, what we aren't doing right, where we're challenged, where we have our problems, right? But think about like how often do you focus on what you do well? How often are you picking up and noticing what you do that you improved upon, old habit that you let go of, some kind of limiting, numbing device that you put down and transformed. There are countless places I am confident you all have an achievement, things to be proud of. And I want you guys to realize that it's possible you don't put as much time on those for yourself as you do the places where you know you have work to do, right? It's human for all of us to feel acknowledged, to even ourselves. We have to acknowledge ourselves sometimes, guys. We have to pause and we have to actually ask ourselves, wow, what is different? What am I doing now that I know is in my best interest or my trading's best interest? Look for that. Catch that. Guys, likely keep journals every day. Let that be your last journal entry. What did I do well today? What I'm proud of? What I did that was different than I've ever done before. And I'm so impressed with myself that I did XYZ. That's what I want you guys looking for. All right. Jack, since I'm here with you live, and it sounds like you've caught me after you've caught this on the lives on YouTube, not live. Tell me if you have a question so I can answer you. I think, oh, that's right. I'm going till 15 after. I was like, oh God, I only have 10 minutes left, but I think I came on at 15 after the hour. Yeah, so let me know, Jack, if there's anything you want me to coach you on. And if anybody else has an inquiry or question, please just let me know. Yeah, so maybe that's going to be some homework for everybody for next week. Come next week. If you come next week, let me just double check, but I'm pretty sure this is going to happen at 7 p.m. I'm sorry, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8:15 again next week, guys. 8:15 again next week. I'll be doing this. So here's my homework assignment to as many people who want to take it on. We say this about coaching. When I work with clients, I tell them at the start that when I give a homework assignment, you have one of 3 options. Okay, you ready for this? The first option is that you can agree. Of course, you can agree to the homework assignment. The second option is that you can disagree. I'm not going to do that homework, Kim, no matter what. The third option, which often is the most popular, is a counter offer where you say, all right, I won't do it that, but I'll do it this way, or I won't take it on 100 times, I'll do 50, right? So this is my homework assignment to you guys, that over this next week until next Thursday, right here, you come with a list of a minimum of 7 wins, 7 things you did well, 1 for every day. That's right, including a non-trading day, 2 non-trading days. I want you guys to catch yourself doing things well. A phone call that you should not return, or text, or guy or a girl you shouldn't text. I didn't do it, Kim. Bring that to the conversation. Anything that's a success, a win for you, that's something different that you've done before. That's what I want you guys to keep track of. And I want whoever wants to take this on to come with those 7 successes. I was so tempted from FOMO in my trading account, but I resisted the temptation, Kim. Excellent. Good. BTO is on board. I'm so glad. So bring your 7 wins next week to this conversation, and let's applaud each other. Let's celebrate each other. Let's lift each other up. Let's encourage each other to do even more. Because again, this concept of, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? If that is true, then what happens if you start to focus on what you do well as a trader, right? It's so easy to focus on what you don't do well. But often there's a concept in corporate consulting, corporate coaching, that's called appreciative inquiry, where you are looking for what works. You don't spend your time on what doesn't work. You just focus on what is working, what's going smooth, when are things on time, how are people getting a plum, when have they come through. All of that focus, do you know what happens? The things that are not working start to fall by the wayside because there's so much focus on what's working. There's so much focus on what is going right. And that can also happen with a trader, right? If you guys stay in the mud of all the things that are not working, the things that are working, it's possible that more volume needs to go into that. I'm talking metaphoric volume, not trading speak volume. So I want you guys to really think about this. All right, 1% every day can be something simple. The 7 wins, I would argue, don't need to be trading related. Try working on one thing. Good, yeah, if you want to do that, Eric, that is totally fine. That's your expanded counter offer. That sounds good to me. But I thought I said that it didn't have to be trading related. I just want you guys to catch yourselves doing things that you're proud of and that you're happy about. That's what I want you guys to focus on. And I want you to keep track of them because there is some gravitas to the things we write down. There is some gravitas to us putting things on paper with a pen, not on a computer, that does things to our brain, the right and left hemisphere. So write them down and bring them next week so we can talk about them and, pat you guys on the back for them. I can't wait to see what they are, especially now that you're going to have an audience for them. I'm hoping they're really bodacious, and I'm excited to see what they'll be. All right, so what else do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the next acceleration course. I'm going to give you guys a link to that. But if anybody does have any questions or has any specific things they want coaching on, yes, it can be trading specific, but it doesn't have to be. So if you want to have any coaching, please put that in the box now. All right, so what I want to talk to you guys about actually isn't that course, but it's the trading positioning index. You guys have heard me talk about that before. I'm going to put it now in the chat box. And this is that assessment that I told you guys will allow us to really see sort of, it's like an x-ray of your soul. It's going to allow you and me to see exactly where you are potentially in your own way. This assessment is very unusual because it allows us to see how you operate in your personal life and how you operate in your professional life as a trader. It's going to show us where your confidence might be completely compromised or where that confidence might be overvalued. It's going to allow us to see just how loud that self-criticism is that you have going on inside of you. And are you coming from a place where you do not have any flexibility at looking at different perspectives, different points of view? It also allows you to see if you are coming from a moderately realistic way of looking at the world, or are you coming from a very idealized perspective where you have a particular kind of perspective that things should always be this, they should be that way, and how that costs us when we're not necessarily with the way things are, but we feel that they could be, should be. There's just a way of managing that so you don't feel disappointed all the time. This is some of what gets revealed in this assessment, and it is very powerful, especially for traders, because it helps you guys know exactly where you're going to want to be very cautious in how you trade, the kinds of trading you do. All of this gets really addressed in this assessment. So I put the link there. It's called the Trading Positioning Index. It includes 2 sessions with me, as well as these very robust reports that come with it. All right, going to pause there. Tom says, I emailed the company I have significant investment in and got some stuff off my chest. No reply yet. All right, Tom. So what that sounds like, now, Tom, give me the context. Maybe I'm forgetting context you've shared with me before. First of all, I just want to congratulate you for, first of all, speaking up for yourself. That is huge. Cynthia, that I just spoke about isn't a course. It's an assessment with 2 coaching sessions with me. And that's called the tradingpositioningindex.com. You can see the link right before Tom's or after Tom's is the link to a trading positioning index. So that is not a course, but it is going to give you great insight into what's going on inside of you. And it'll give you 2 coaching sessions with me. That first session, of course, I'll walk you through the results because it's a robust report. I mean, you'll be blown away at how much data you get from it. Okay, yeah, about a 2 session, exactly. All right, so Tom, give me a little bit more feedback, a little more explanation about what you wrote here. So first of all, I'm so thrilled that you emailed the company and that you spoke out loud or in this email what has been on your chest, what's been bothering you. But what I'm curious about, and I'm sorry to hear that you haven't gotten a reply. So that is interesting. So here's a question for you. And please, what is the follow-up question that you have with that statement, Tom? But is that a significant investment in a company that is investing your money for you? Or is that a company you yourself invested in and you're trying to speak to what they're doing with your money? Because there's a difference. And also, depending on which it is and depending on when you wrote them and not having heard back from them, if it is a company you have put your own money into and are investing in them and they haven't responded to you, I don't know what length of time that is, but that would concern me. Like, anytime we have somebody who is, somebody where you own the stock. Okay, so I hear you. So you're trying to speak, your perspective to this company on what they're doing because it will impact the stock that you own. So good for you for speaking it out loud. And like, again, you guys know I'm not a trader, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just, my perspectives on different things. But I love the fact, Tom, that you are paying such close attention that you even had some collection of thoughts on your chest and that you wanted to speak them out loud. And I think that is fantastic. Somebody I want to speak to now who's featured in my book, Transforming Wall Street, that's my book right there, take it off the shelf, is Robert Monks. I'm just going to say a little bit about him. He is one of the first shareholder activists. So, Tom, it could be that you'll like Robert Monks and what he has been up to his whole life. He is, I think he's in his 90s now, but he's still kicking. And Tom, he was a shareholder activist, and he often would contact the companies he was invested in to give them a piece of his mind because he was very concerned about a lot of different ways these different companies, were operating, especially with regards to the environment. So a little story about him, I got to interview him when I wrote my book's been out now since 2015, believe it or not. And it took about 3 years to write. So I probably interviewed him 15, 14, 13, 12, about 2012. And he tells this great story about how he lives in Maine and he has a bunch of books. So if you look up Robert Monks, Tom, if you want to go down that path, he lives in Maine. And basically this is what happened. The Penobscot River is, I've whitewater rafted on that river. So it's a very famous river. And there was, at a period of time, pollution. And everybody was like up in arms, like, how is this happening to the Penobscot River? Where's this pollution coming from? So there really aren't that many physical copies left of the book, BTO, because I printed it myself. I self-published it. So I only have a handful that are left. And, I think you can order them on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure the price is pretty high now because there's not that many hardcover copies left. Obviously I have it as a Kindle. I have my book also as an audio, but I only have a handful of copies left in hardcover. But there are sometimes on, yes, Tina did do that. Tina went to eBay and got a used copy, but she still paid a pretty penny for it. But there are times when I've seen it on Amazon, it's astronomically high. Much better if you guys get the Kindle or to get the audio of it. All right, so let me get back to this. Yeah, I think that's true. What Tina said about the book being $195 to $500. It's because the quantity now is so low that there's not that many copies. Supply and demand, exactly, BTO, exactly. But I do want to do another printing of it. Eventually, I'll probably do paperback. But, it's honestly, I have to tell you guys, writing a book is hard as hell. But, it was equally as hard was self-publishing it. That was a bear because, from everything from, picking out this and the print and the jacket and the page quality and all the shenanigans with the company that printed it, actually the jacket, making the jacket fit the artwork. Holy mackerel. It was brutal. Oh, Shane, I'm so glad you have one. I'll have to autograph that for you one day. And yours too, Tina. And I bet you search for months. Thanks for doing that. I hope you like the book. Please, you got to let me know. And guys, look, if you guys have the book and you've read the book and you have thoughts about the book. I'd love your testimonial up on Amazon. I don't think anybody's written me a testimonial about the book on Amazon in probably 4 years or something like that. So, all right, back to Bob Monks, because it's a fascinating story. I loved him so much, love him still. So here's what happened, Tom. I think you'll find this fascinating. So everybody is like, what is going on with the Penobscot River? Why is it polluted? But especially Bob, right? He is just like horrified by this. And he speaks at length. And I didn't know you had it for years, Shane. Damn, you are on it. Bob speaks at length about the fact that, he grew up very wealthy, right? He's a very wealthy man, came from a very wealthy family, was very well connected up in Maine, right? He knew everybody, but he could not get to the bottom of what was happening with the river. And he was like, what the hell? How can I not get this figured out? I'm connected. Like he had the ear and the connections with the movers and shakers, right? So he couldn't figure this out. So long story short, he's on the board of a paper company. I'm looking up his name quick in my book because I can't recall the name of the paper company. But anyway, he's obviously on a lot of boards, but one of the boards he's on is this paper company. Long story short, which I've said that twice, he discovers it's the paper company that's polluting the river. The paper company he's been on the board of for years. He is, the way he described it in his interview with me, horrified, embarrassed, right? He's like, I am on the board of this company that's been polluting this river that I've been raging about forever. And I myself have some of the power, right? He doesn't represent the whole board, but he's one of the members. He's like, when I realized, my God, like I didn't even know. And that is where this whole shareholder governance kind of came from. He was like, every shareholder has a responsibility to, the environment, right? To the investors, right, Tom? And very few of us really take ownership of that role we play. So Bob, of course, rallied over and over again at the board meetings because he was like, we cannot be polluting this, gorgeous river here. And the pollution, of course, got stopped. And so just the power of how a shareholder, granted, Tom, he was on the board, right? But the point is, every shareholder does have a voice. If all shareholders spoke up, let's say, Tom, your email times 1,000 went in that day, a company's going to listen, right? The products we purchase, guys, if we are upset about the way the product operates in a community, in an environment situation, or with the babies who are children who are building the product, all of us can change it if we start to really take responsibility for being a person who invests in that company or is an owner of that company. Ownership is a strong word. As traders, we can relate to it as well. Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. BTO, fine words to bring this very close to a close. So, Tom, I'm proud of you, and I want you to realize that, could be that Robert Monks is going to be your new poster hero, and you're going to become a shareholder activist. I think I see it in your future, Tom. I do. I look at the crystal ball and I see Tom becomes a shareholder activist. It is a thing, guys. So look it up, learn, find out, especially for the companies you're investing in. Take ownership, guys. Take ownership. All right. What else do we have here? All right. So I didn't see any other coaching requests come in. I'm looking. Let's see. And Jack, I'm glad you're here again. It's been a while since I've seen you live. So I'm glad you're here. But Jack, did you have anything? Because it sounds like you were maybe trying to come into a live for a while. So in closing, a couple of things. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Please do make sure that you're on the Curtin call. That's a play of my last name. My last name is spelled Curtin, no A. So my Curtin call is my weekly newsletter, which talks finance, which talks trading, which talks investing, but ultimately it's talking about ways to hopefully inspire you, encourage you, give you tips and tricks that have served me at improving my emotional intelligence. And look, this is always a work in progress. All of us, we're all works in progress. Like if we're 6 feet above ground, we have some work to do, right? So this is not like, oh, I got it all figured out, and this is how you do it. No, this is like, I'm still figuring it out. These are the tools that help me. I hope they might help you. And perhaps some of the tools I share do, and some of the tools I share don't. And that is what's so unique about all of us. There was a very, a thread on X that went kind of viral with this guy, Tom, I think it's Williamson or Wilkinson. He wrote a book and he took a photograph of a book signing he was at and nobody showed up. And the poor guy, so he took this picture of him sitting at the table at the bookshop. And he's like, I wrote a book and have a book signing at, I don't know what it was at Barnes & Noble. He's like, nobody came. And like everybody started to comment on this picture, including me. And I was just like, wow, like, I'm so sorry, Tom. Like, I know that feeling. Like, very few people know about my book, even though it's been out for 9 years, like, except for you wonderful plugged people here. But very few people know that I wrote that book. So, I was like commiserating with him. Like, you put your heart and soul into these books, and then sometimes nobody even knows the book exists, right? So, but part of what happened in that thread was the generosity of the commenters, right? Everybody was kind of saying, like, their own variation of having nobody at a book signing. Everybody's got those things. So the key is just remembering, like, we're all human. Like, I love that this guy did this. I mean, he has a very large following on Twitter, but like at the end of the day, like regardless of your followers, regardless of your social media footprint, like at the end of the day, like he's just a guy like anybody else who wrote a book and then nobody showed up, right? This happens all the time, guys, for everybody. So the key is to first of all remember, like with whatever's happening with you and your trading, like you're not the only one. Like all of us are fallible. All of us are human. All of us are giving it our best. Some days we're going to be having a green day, not just in our trading, but metaphorically. Some days are going to be red, right? As John Denver used to say, one of my favorite John Denver songs, some days are diamonds and some days are stones, right? It's just the way it is. But the key is to not think that there's something wrong with you. The key is to realize you're just part of the human family who makes mistakes. And hopefully, as you get older, you just make, if you don't make at least less mistakes, you make at least more bodacious mistakes, right? Mistakes that you've never made before. Like, go for some new mistakes, guys. Like, the mistakes we make all the time, let them go. Let's try some new mistakes on. Start to take on things that perhaps intimidate you or make you a little bit nervous. I do outrigger paddling, and there were, a couple of gals down there. We were talking, there's a long distance race coming up. That's the first race. I've been paddling on and off now for 9 years here. And that was the first race that I was in, outrigger paddling in a 6-man canoe. And I was with all experienced paddlers, right? Nobody in my canoe had not been a paddler for years. A lot of Hawaiian women, so those women have been paddling since their children, like 8 years old, right? And, I'm also a Howley, but also a woman who's not paddling since I'm 8 years old. And I was scared to death, right? Because I don't want to let them down because they want to get a medal. Long story short, I did that race, and that first race is the first race and now only race so far that I got a medal for, right? We came in, did come in second or third. It's like 7 years ago. So I'm not sure. We came in second or third. I'll check my medal tonight. I think it was second. Okay, so why am I telling you this about this race? Because so they're talking about it. The race comes up in a few weeks, right? And I'm hoping to get a crew. I'm not in a crew now. I'm hoping for crew because I love that race, as you guys can imagine, because it's the first one I got a medal for. So I'm watching these two gals who are brand new paddlers. They've not done a race before. They've also not been racing the full long distance course, which is 9 miles. They've been doing like 7 miles because they're not, they're not used to paddling, right? So 7 miles is still a lot, but it's not 9. So they're like worried. They're like, oh, we don't know. We don't know we can do this, right? I completely understood where they're coming from. I'm listening to the things they're saying. Oh, we've only been paddling 7 miles, not 9. We're probably not prepared for this race. Or blah, blah, blah. And everything they're saying, I said way back when. I was thinking the same thing. And I could just hear the two, like there was a couple of them from this one crew. And it was like they were talking themselves out of it, right? That's what all of us can do, guys. We can talk ourselves out of things. We can come up again with the stories, the meanings, and start to spin a tale of why we shouldn't do X, Y, or Z, right? Why we shouldn't try X, Y, or Z. Why we shouldn't email. As a gentleman that I've wanted to have on my podcast since my podcast started, his name is John Coates. He's the author of one of the best trading books. I'm sure I've talked about this before. But I'm going to talk about it again because I just want to let you guys know. So The Hour Between Dog and Wolf, guys, even if you're not a trader, you should read this book. But traders have to read this book. This is a profound book. Anyway, John Coates is the author. I read this book probably 12, maybe 14 years ago. I've wanted him on my podcast since my podcast began. I have consistently been emailing him, not that often, but regularly. I sent him one again last week. He wrote me back and he's like, I'm working on another book. I'm like, what? You're working on another book? That's the only book he has. He's like, can you give me 6 months and then I'll come on? Oh my God, I'm so excited. This guy is the best. You guys are going to freaking love him. But here's the thing. What if I had given up, right? I can't tell you how many times I've emailed him, right? What if I just stopped? What if I didn't send that one email? The one email that now he's going to come on in 6 months, like hope, 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 right? This is what I'm saying, guys. It pays to be in New York. We had this great lottery tagline, and it said, you got to be in it to win it, right? The best tagline to any market campaign. That was the New York State Lottery tagline, right? You got to be in it to win it. You guys have to be in it to win it. So I want you to look for all the places where you talk yourself out of being in it and stop it. That's it. Just stop it. You've got to be in it. And I'm not telling you to take unreasonable risks. And I'm not telling you to go into trades that you shouldn't take or that don't follow your strategy. But if you want to be successful as a trader, you're going to have to find the comfort with the discomfort that's inevitable and stop taking it so personally and stop projecting what your past was onto the future that has yet to come. All right? All right. I'm going to stop it there. If there's any last minute questions, put them in now or hold your peace until next week. As always, it's a pleasure to do these with you guys. You guys are so much fun to engage with. Thank you for always participating in the chat. Mm. Next time we go to Birdland, I'll bring your book with me for me to sign. Shane, I want to see you again at Birdland. I love that damn place. I miss Birdland so much. That was a place when I lived in New York City, I would go to a lot. And, but I don't think, Shane, all the times I've been to Birdland were as fun as that night with you. And who was our friend? Was it Tom? Was that his name? I can't tell me his name. That and the giggles. Oh my God. I think we almost got thrown out of Birdland like 3 times that night. That was so cool. It was one of the best nights. And the best part about the night was that it was so unplanned. Shane and I met at the Bear Bulls Traders Conference in New York City. And we met at the restaurant right before everybody was leaving. Thomas, that's right. Tell Thomas I said hi. And Thomas and Jane, they were kind of there. And they were going to go over to Birdland. And I was like, "Oh, where are you guys going?" And I was like, "Birdland." And I just kind of like glommed onto them. And we had such an amazing night. And then they both walked me back uptown. I was staying at the New York Athletic Club. And you guys walked me all the way uptown. It was such a beautiful night. The weather was perfect. It was August. So anyway, Shane, it was good. It was a good night, a really good night. So good to be here with all of you guys. I thank you for letting me try to be a contribution to the journey you're on. And I will hopefully see some of you guys next week on what is next week's date. And go to the calendar. That is the 25th. And it will be at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. For me, it's actually only 2:15. Now it's 3:20. But yeah, I'm 6 hours behind East Coast time. So that's it, guys. Those lives are so good. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so glad you're here too, BTO. You contribute massively as well, being so honest with your comments. So, all right, guys, I hope the next week goes well. Don't forget your homework assignment to come back with 7 wins, trading or non-trading specific. I don't care. I just want you guys to keep track of what you do well. Catch yourself. Catch the things you do well that you're proud of. You have a great week too, Tina, and I'll see everybody 1 week from today. I love